It is Tuesday. That means another week of the fantasy football season has wrapped up. And that also means we need to be looking at the waiver wire to find those gems that can go and help us win our league this season. So, what we're going to do is we're on Sleeper. We're going to go through the trending up list. These are guys who are going to be on a lot of waiver wires, but we're going to stick the threshold to roster at 50% or lower. Chances are, if you're playing in a competitive league, guys that are rostered at 40% or higher are not going to be available in your leagues. But still, I think 50% is a good threshold for us. And then after we go through the trending up, we're going to go through the trending down and just highlight a couple guys who can probably be cut to make some room for on your team. So starting up with who, no doubt, for good reason, is the number one trending up player this week. That is Kamani Vidal. So he balled out this week. Last week was really the week, if you were going to pick him up in most leagues, you had to go get him. But if he is available in your league, he has to be rostered. But there is a caveat with this. I don't think you need to be going out and blowing 50% plus of your fab on him. There was reports all of last week that the Chargers were looking to trade for a running back. And I mean, he did have a really good week, but keep in mind, he had a really good week against a weak Miami Dolphins defense where they've been ravaged over the last couple weeks by running backs. Next up, he's got the Colts and Vikings. I wouldn't say those are the most favorable matchups for a running back. And I think the Chargers are going to continue to explore to trade for a running back with Najee Harris out for the season and Omari Hampton to miss at least 3 more weeks. They brought Najee in with Hampton to have that 1-2 punch. I don't think Vidal really gives them that strong second punch with Omari and Hampton. But again, he needs to be rostered. So if you can get him for maybe 10-15% of your fab to fill in for a week or two, you can go ahead and get him. And then moving on to Dawson Knox. I mean, they got a bye week next week. Dawson Knox had a good week, and it's mostly because, it is definitely because Kincaid missed this week. And 8.9 points doesn't warrant enough to go grab him if you need a tight end. If you need a tight end, there is a guy on this list we're going to get to very soon who 100% needs to be rostered. And then moving on to Cameron Johnson and Sterling Shepard. So these guys are really interesting because you already had Mike Evans out with injury for Tampa. Chris Godwin missed this week. And now Mika Buka has a hamstring injury. We don't know how long he's going to be out for at the time of this video. So now you're going to need guys to step up for a team that's also missing Bucky Irving, and you have Baker Mayfield playing at an MVP level. So Sterling Shepard and Cameron Johnson are the first two guys that do come to mind. I think both these guys are worth rostering in your leagues for maybe 5-10% of your fab. I wouldn't go crazy because Egbuka, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin will be back at some point, and they are going to be the top receivers for Baker Mayfield and Tampa Bay. But again, if we're going to monitor those injuries, I think Chris Godwin is going to be back next week. But if Egbuka continues to miss 2 to 4 weeks, I mean, someone's going to have to step up, and these guys are good bets for that. And then Zach Ertz, 66%. We're not going to. Harold Fannin is going to be rostered in most of your leagues, but just a quick thing on him. With Njoku potentially missing some time now, Harold Fannin is going to be a top 6 to top 8 tight end option in fantasy. And this could be the final handing the torch over from Njoku to Fannin for a Browns tight end of the future. Kendrick Bourne, I think this week was the last week we're going to see crazy numbers from Kendrick Bourne. He's already rostered 52%. I'm not going to go too deep into him, but with Brock Purdy returning and guys like Ricky Pearsall coming back, I don't think we're going to be starting Kendrick Bourne here on out. Michael Mayer needs to be on your team if you need a tight end, especially if you are a Brock Bowers holder. Michael Mayer had an amazing week this week with 16 points, and the Raiders simply just love feeding their tight ends. Michael Mayer was a really high draft pick when he was drafted 2 years ago, and he's going to be utilized for Geno Smith and this offense where they don't really have like an elite receiver they need to be feeding. Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker do their thing, but Michael Mayer is filling in for Brock Bowers for the time being, and we know what Brock Bowers does in this offense, so you need to be going out and grabbing Michael Mayer. Even if you don't need a starting tight end and you have an extra roster spot, Michael Mayer is worth picking up. And if you need a tight end, I think it's really fair to drop 20-ish% of your fab on him because Bowers is going to miss probably another week or two. They're not going to force him. They're going to ease him in. I mean, he's so important to this team. So while he's out, Michael Mayer is an amazing tight end to fill in. Cole Kmet, I mean, the Bears, just let's not waste your time with Cole Kmet. You're not going to want to be starting any of the Bears tight ends. Kickers, defenses, whatever. Jordan Whittington, I'm not really that concerned with him. So Bam Knight is a really interesting one. Michael Carter started last week for the Cardinals and was pretty good. I mean, he had a good game for fantasy and in real life. But then out of nowhere, before the game this Sunday, the Cardinals like Bam Knight is going to be starting. So for that, I mean, this Cardinals backfield is super confusing. Until Trey Benson comes back, I'm not really looking to start Bam Knight, Michael Carter, but in deeper leagues, 12 plus man leagues, and with bye weeks and injuries, you might need to start one of these guys. So Bam Knight is worth rostering, but again, don't go crazy with Bam Knight. He's a guy you can drop maybe 15-ish% of your fab on because there is still a lot of uncertainty in this backfield. And when Trey Benson comes back, this backfield is going to be Trey Benson's. So that's what I got for Bam Knight. Tez Johnson, I skipped Luke McCaffrey. Luke McCaffrey's putting together a solid season. I don't think I'll drop any fab on him. He's worth rostering if you're in a really deep league and you have an extra spot, but the chances of you actually looking at your roster on any given week and saying, I'm going to start Luke McCaffrey are pretty low, again, unless you're in a really deep league. And then moving on, Kate Otten, Tez Johnson, same thing with all these injuries for Tampa Bay. They're interesting. I just don't think you're going to look at, again, like Luke McCaffrey, you're not going to look at Kate Otten or Tez Johnson and say, I'm going to start these guys. Tez Johnson had a really good, really deep reception this week that really boosted his points in fantasy. He is a rookie, so I guess there is some upside with Tez Johnson. I mean, if he's available in a dynasty league, he's really worth picking up because you never know with dynasty. In redraft, if you're in a deep league and you have an extra roster spot, I guess you could pick him up for that potential. I mean, when you look at Tez Johnson and you look at Sterling Shepard and Cameron Johnson, with Sterling Shepard, we know he's a vet. We've known what he's done throughout his career. So when you're adding guys to the waiver wire just to fill in that last spot or two on your bench, you want those high upside guys, and those are typically rookies or players in their first or second year. So for that reason, I mean, if you want to add Tez Johnson, you can. But it's all his output's going to depend on injuries to the rest of Tampa's receivers. Going down this list, Lil Jordan Humphrey, I mean, I'm not looking to pick him up. Wan'Dale Robinson is the guy in New York with Malik Neighbors out, and this offense is going to run through Jackson Dart, Cam Scadaboo, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Theo Johnson, and guys like Lil Jordan Humphrey getting plays in here and there, but nothing crazy. Rico Dowdle, I mean, if he's available in your league, I don't know what kind of league you're playing in. AJ Barner's interesting. He's really picking up as the Seahawks tight end. He's had 3 straight weeks of double-digit points. I think if you're a team that needs you don't have an established top 10 fantasy tight end you can throw in every week, AJ Barner is worth taking a flyer on. The Seahawks offense looks pretty good. Sam Darnold looks pretty good. So if you're a team that needs a tight end, you could I'd drop 10% of your fab on AJ Barner, but nothing crazy. We'll see, because Elijah Arroyo is still on that team, and I think he is the better tight end. But as of right now, A.J. Barner does look like the better tight end. Josh Downs finally had the week that he was drafted to have with 16 points. But, hey, guys, Tyler Warren and Michael Pittman Jr. are the 2 best receiving options for Daniel Jones. I don't think we'll see this consistently out of Josh Downs, but he does deserve to be rostered in leagues if he is not rostered. Kayshon Boutte had a week this week with 26 points. My thing with the Patriots receivers are none of them have quite yet established that they are that top dog in that receiving room. So all these guys, Stephon Diggs went off last week. Kayshon Boutte went off this week. Demario Douglas has had a few games. Hunter Henry as a tight end has had a few games. Drake May is the best player on that offense. And the thing is with these guys, the Patriots receivers, they're boom or bust. One of these guys, maybe 2 of these guys, any given week are going to boom because of how good Drake May is playing. But it's going to be hard to trust them as weekly starters. But with that said, Kayshon Boutte is going to be rostered after this week in a lot of leagues. I wouldn't go crazy again to drop a lot of fab on him. He is a 5% kind of guy in my opinion. And that's, again, because I don't see any of these Patriots receivers being consistent starting flex or more options any given week. To me, they're boom or bust flex options. And even if you need guys to fill in deeper leagues, I think you can look other ways. But just looking at their matchups coming up, I mean, Tennessee is a good matchup for them. Cleveland's an okay matchup. So the Patriots have some good matchups for the receivers coming up. And for that reason, I mean, they are worth rostering for sure, especially from what we've seen. All these guys are rostered. Luther Burden. Luther Burden keeps getting a lot of looks in this Bears offense in his rookie season. This week, 9 points, not bad at all for being technically their third receiver. I do like, if you have an extra roster spot at the end of your bench, I do think Luther Burden is worth rostering. It's Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, and Luther Burden, and DJ Moore has not been that great for this Bears offense, or at least Caleb Williams hasn't been going his way as much as I thought he would have at the beginning of the season. Rome Odunze looks like the number one receiver on this offense this week, but Luther Burden is worth rostering because in the second half of the season, I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears start to continue to get him more involved with the prospects of trading DJ Moore after this season. If Luther Burden looks good, Rome Odunze already looks good, those two guys could be the cheaper wide receiver options for Caleb Williams moving forward, and they can ship out DJ Moore to get in more assets to continue to build this team. So I think we will continue to see Luther Burden's usage go up throughout the season, and for that reason, I do think he is worth rostering. I really don't think you're going to have to drop fab on him in most leagues to get him. He's been available in a lot of my leagues as the waivers go on. So you could just pick him up for free probably, or just after this week's waivers. After this week's waivers go through on Wednesday. Aaron Rodgers, I mean, yeah, if you need to start a guy, whatever. Tyler Algier looked good this week. But still, I mean, Bijan's the guy there. Evan Ingram, he had a horrible start to the season. He's slowly picking it up. I still think we need to see another week or two to really be like, he's back. He can be put into your starting lineups. But that is good to see. I mean, they do play, who they got next week? They play the Giants next week and then the Cowboys. So those are two matchups. I would honestly, if you need to stream a tight end, Evan Ingram's not a bad option, especially against Dallas. But let's see what he does against the Giants this week. But again, if you need to pick up a streaming tight end, go ahead. Josh Reynolds, no, we're not touching anyone on the Jets offense. Darnold, again, if you're playing two quarterback leagues, super flex league is not going to be available, but two quarterback leagues, or you just need a streaming quarterback this week. Sam Darnold is putting together a string of good weeks. So yeah, not a bad option there. Kenneth Gainwell, 60%. I mean, he needs to be rostered. He just looked good as the backup in Pittsburgh, and he's a good fill-in player. Trey Tucker's above 50%. Joe Flacco, I mean, you should have better options out there on the waivers. I just wouldn't want to be. There's not a lot of upside there with him. So that's about it. Let's go through the trending down players this week. So Hassan Haskins can be dropped. You do not need to be rostering him. Again, like Vidal is going to be the starting RB option for you in fantasy until Amari Hampton gets back. And I just don't think Hassan Haskins has a lot of upside on this offense. And I would be very comfortable with cutting him after this week if you need to bring someone else in your roster in his place. Tyquan Thornton, he's been that awesome deep ball guy for the Chiefs, but I think his days of throwing him into your fantasy lineups taking advantage of those deep ball opportunities is over, because Rashee Rice returns this week, and Rashee Rice is going to break fantasy football, and he does everything that every receiver on this offense can do packaged into one. So for that reason, I think Tyquan Thornton's days are over for fantasy production, at least this season. So I'm very comfortable with cutting him. I mean, Flournoy, he was more involved against the Panthers than I thought he'd be. And of course, he went off against the Jets. But CeeDee Lamb might be returning this week. George Pickens is the guy without CeeDee Lamb. And once CeeDee Lamb's back, this offense, at least through the passing game, is going to go to CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, and Jake Ferguson. So really no reason to roster Flournoy no longer. Kincaid, I don't know why. He was out. That makes sense, but we're not cutting him. Mason Taylor was a guy I was looking to pick up on waivers last week, and he had a really down week this week. I'm not saying he's not going to be good. It's just this Jets offense is so trash. I just don't want to, if you want to cut him, go ahead and cut him. If you want to keep him around, go ahead and keep him around. But it's not going to hurt you to cut him. I don't think people are going to be jumping on the waivers to pick him up. If you need a tight end and that's the reason you picked him up last week, go pick up Michael Mayer in his place. That is a way better option for you with way more potential and stability than Mason Taylor. Juwan Jennings trending down. He has a lot of injuries he's playing through. I wouldn't be surprised with Pearsall coming back potentially next week that they bench give Juwan Jennings the week off to recover from 5 broken ribs and 2 ankle injuries. Keon Coleman, I mean, he's been kind of quiet. He had a monster game in week 1, but we're not cutting him, of course. But I just don't, you're not going to be starting him either at this point. Jake Tungus, his time is coming to an end. When George Kittle comes back, Jake Tungus can be cut and we're not going to start him. He has been great filling in for George Kittle, though, I must say. He's been a really good streaming tight end over the last month or so. But yeah, once George Kittle comes back, that immediately kills his value. Dawson Knox, Matthew Stafford, Michael Carter again. I wouldn't cut him this week. Like, you want to keep him around just to see what they deploy against Green Bay with this backfield. But again, like, that backfield is super confusing. So these guys aren't going to win you your weeks. I mean, you're just keeping them around for filling in if you're really thin at running back or you have injuries or bye weeks. Jaden Blue was the RB2 this week with Miles Sanders now for the season. I just don't see a lot from him so far in the season. And Javonte Williams is looking like a legit RB1 for Dallas. They're not going to unnecessarily give Jaden Blue touches when they have a lot of weapons on their offense. And their offense is rolling even without giving guys like Jaden Blue a chance to touch the ball. So, like, he's a cut candidate. I mean, you could roster him at the back of your bench, but there's really no need. I think that's better served somewhere else. Calvin Ridley, I mean, you're not going to cut him because he's Calvin Ridley, but damn, man, you cannot be starting Calvin Ridley no longer. He had a good week last week, but other than that, this season's been atrocious for him. A lot of that has to do with the Titans just being abysmal and Cam Ward kind of just struggling in his rookie year. I just couldn't start Calvin Ridley on any given week, but again, you're not going to cut him. Try to trade him, but I don't know who's going to be jumping on that fast. Ramondre Stevenson, we're not cutting him. I mean, this Patriots backfield is a mess. I still don't understand why Travion Henderson is not getting the bulk load of carries after being drafted so high by them. But, I mean, you're not going to cut these guys. You got to wait till that backfield gets kind of hashed out. Darius Slayton, you could cut him. I wouldn't be upset. I mean, again, Wan'Dale Robinson is the number 1 receiver. And outside of him, I think guys like Darius Slayton, Jalen Hyatt, they're going to get the ball spread out to them and might have games here or there. But again, not a guy you're going to be starting. Malik Washington, if you have the freedom to keep him on your bench for another week or two, I would. Because again, with Tyreek out now, Waddle is wide receiver 1. Waller has stepped in really well. But Malik Washington is a gadget kind of guy. And maybe if they get things figured out with him, he will see more opportunities. It could be a boom or bust flex option in deeper leagues. So just keep him around for another week if you can, in my opinion. Darnell Mooney, I mean, he was out this week. So if he's available, you probably do want to roster him in your league, but I don't blame you if he's just out there and you're trying to cut him. Jawan Johnson's concerning. I mean, he started off the season so hot, and now he hasn't finished as a top 20 tight end in 3 weeks, and hasn't finished as a top 30 tight end in 2 weeks. It's not looking good for Jawan Johnson after how good of a season it was to start. Taysom Hill has came back, which hurts him a lot. They're just spreading this offense or the ball out more in this offense to guys like Olave, and it's just not helping Jawan Johnson. I wouldn't cut him. I mean, you're probably not going to start him next week, that's for sure. But he was really good last year. He finished as one of the better options in fantasy, and we saw what he did at the beginning of the year for the Saints. So I would give him the benefit of the doubt for another week or two and not cut him. But you're going to want to probably start someone else next week, like Michael Mayer. Again, Michael Mayer if you need a tight end, he should be your number 1 target this week. Calvin Austin, not interested. Isaiah Bond, I mean, he just hasn't showed us much since he's been, I guess, this wide receiver 2 in Cleveland. Cleveland's also just a mess. But it's concerning that they threw the ball 59 times last week, and Isaiah Bond only had 2 fantasy points. David Njoku, I mean, you're not going to cut him even if he's hurt. Jalen Tolbert, you can go ahead and cut him even if you have him rostered. So, yeah, I mean, Chris Godwin, you're going to keep around. Kyle Pitts, you're going to keep around. Khalil Shakir, you're going to keep around. Bayshall Tuin can be cut. He had a good week a couple weeks ago, but just it's ETN's backfield, and he hasn't been an upside kind of guy in the last few weeks. So you can go ahead and cut him. And Kareem Hunt at the end of this list is interesting. I wouldn't be upset if you cut him. I just don't think his Chiefs backfield is going to be consistently fruitful for fantasy. But if you have the extra spot, you can keep him around. So that's it for the waivers here in going into week 7. Make sure you follow me on X for all my week 7 guide and cheat sheet and all that kind of stuff, and I'll see y'all later.